Guys, our new sponsor, True Classic, has the best fitting t-shirts a man can buy. And let's face it, finding the right t-shirt when you got big old guns can be a bit frustrating. Most t-shirts are too tight in all the wrong places or look big and boxy. Guys, there's never been an in-between until now. True Classic makes a t-shirt that fits just right. And right now, for a limited time only, get 25% off with the promo code Chael at trueclassic.com. You don't need more hours in the gym to look great. You're just wearing the wrong clothes. True Classic tees taper off towards the bottom but fit tighter around the chest and shoulders. Not only are you finally getting a t-shirt designed for the male body, but guys, these tees, they are so soft. You normally spend an arm and a leg for materials this soft, but you never will again. There are plenty of t-shirt brands out there, but the one that you'll want to wear every day is True Classic. Visit trueclassic.com. You will save 25% off your order when you use the promo code Chael. Guys, go do it right now. Is the plan Nate Diaz versus Jake Paul the end? I mean, is that the plan? That's exactly what they're going to do because many people have discussed this. And they've discussed it back and forth. What if Jake loses, right? There's two options for Jake when he goes with Anderson. He wins or he loses. So you can discuss if he loses. You can discuss as he wins. As a matter of fact, there's nothing else you can discuss. It's going to be one of those two. If the plan is for Diaz versus Paul, do you do it no matter what? Is it Diaz, Paul, or bust? I'm just asking the question. I think that there's two ways to approach this. And this has never been done. This has never been tested. First way. You make Nate Diaz the prize. It's a great way to get a focus group, which is you guys. It's a very risky business, going to the fight business. And you'll do your calculations and you'll go off of your gut reaction, but the great thing to do is just turn it over to the audience. So if you make Nate Diaz the prize, we can tell that story and we can see what kind of attention that garners. Now, what you're going to run into is that if Jake wins, Jake fights Nate, okay, great. But if Anderson wins, Anderson goes into Jake, or goes into Diaz, but Jake isn't left out. He's got MVP, most valuable promotions. He goes ahead and promotes the thing. So it seems as though everybody could work together. That is a really, really good way to do it. That would be your standard way to do it. The other thing that you could do, this has never been done, is that you have Nate proclaim he wants to fight the loser. If he comes in and says that he wants to fight the loser ahead of time, it's interesting, but it works. It's never been done. This is Chael's theory. This is Chael's theory as a master of human psychology. Then what you do if Anderson loses, which is not the fight you're trying to make, if that's what we're trying to hold true here, is you say, obviously, I was kidding. I don't fight the loser. Of course I'm going to fight Jake. If Jake gets beat, you now say, yeah, okay, now I want to deal with that guy. And the Paul brothers have done this from the beginning to a degree. To a degree. But it was one of my favorite little sprinkles that they've done. And I got to give them both credit. I mean, Logan coming out, calling out Floyd, and then getting in there with Floyd, openly saying, he's way better than me. I've barely done this and he's a 6-time world champion, but I'm a lot bigger. Openly making that part of the story. Logan called out Paddy Pimblett straight to Dana White's face, but he said the same thing. Right, we know that he boxed because we've seen that. He's a high school wrestler, you have to take my word for that. And he spent a lot of time in the practice room on jiu-jitsu, which are all things that Dana White asked him. And Dana thought, oh, maybe you could get Paddy some problems with your size. There's nothing wrong with that. The only time you run into a problem is where you try to keep that from the audience, and then the audience thinks they've discovered something. Well, ha-ha, he's calling you out because he's 30 pounds bigger. Tell them in advance. Would you guys like to see that match? And it's hard for you to know because there's ways that you can lose. There's controversy just by example. There's split decisions just by example. There's quitting in the fight completely and being humiliated just by example. So it's really hard to know ahead of time. That's why we always defer to the winner. Because come hook or crook, one hand goes up and one hand doesn't, we at least have that resolution. It could be a disqualification. We still have that resolution. So we pretend to have a competitive architecture. We pretend that's a semifinal bout, and he draws into a final bout, and then everybody understands it. There's not a problem. I'm asking you, does Jake fight Nate no matter the outcome of the Anderson fight? And I don't know how much you're on the journey for what Jake would like you to be, which is to watch him pursue his dream of being recognized as the world's best boxer. I don't know how much you're on that journey. And they've got me. These guys have my attention. They had it early. They've got me. But if I was to be really fair with you guys, I can't remember all of them. I know Jake hasn't lost. I know that to be true. I know he's had 5 fights. I know that to be true. But I can't remember what happened with the KSI guy, because I thought it was a draw. Now, other people tell me, hey, Chael, you got the wrong brother completely. Okay, that's fine. That's fine if I do. That's actually the point I'm trying to prove, is there is an entertainment and there is something else. There is a risk being taken. Oh, and by the way, there's performances by both of those boys. I got to couple them together, by both of those boys that we never thought that they could have. Logan and Floyd had a deal. And that deal was brought to all of you. All of us knew if it goes to a decision, Logan wins. Now, I'm not rewriting history, guys. I watched the press conference. I read it. You could go to Google and find it yourself. It was stated by everybody involved. But nobody will recognize that Floyd lost to Logan. They won't even do that in passing. They won't even do that in quiet. To hell with Fightology and his record. To hell with all of that. Just say it. Just when we're talking and we're being colloquial, say it. Here was the rules. Here was it. I was playing. We all understood it. This is what happened. And he won. People won't even go that far. And I got to tell you, like in the world of grappling, you know it drives me crazy that every grappling event has to have their own rules. Nobody can start a grappling event without putting their own rules on the event. It's just weird. It's a reason that grappling can't get over. It's a reason you'll never hear Jim Rome or Dan Le Batard talk about it. You'll never see grappling on SportsCenter because they don't even have a unified rule set. But if two guys were to go out and compete under that made-up rule set of that one event, we honor it. We absolutely put it on their record. We don't care if they banned heel hooks or reefs or knee bars. We don't care about any of that. If that was disclosed ahead of time and that was the rule set, nobody comes in on the back of it and goes, well, in this other rule set, he would have won. No, we don't do that because we have honor. We have full honor, and we understand that for certain events, certain rules change. Under the unified rules of mixed martial arts, or under the Queensberry rules of boxing, there's 50 different jurisdictions in the United States alone. And while you guys hear about the unified rules and you think it's the same in every state, man, that's fine print. They are not the same in every state. The kneeing of a downed opponent, just by example, elbows at anywhere. There's states where you can't do elbows. There's states where the downed opponent isn't the same. I'm just bringing to you, we will recognize whatever is done in the event that night per the rules that were agreed on. We do that in our community, but boxing didn't do that. Boxing did not want to admit that Logan, even with his size, got over on Floyd, but that's what they agreed to. That was explained to us extremely clearly. You may not like it, and you may think it doesn't count for other things. I'll hear you. I'm not discussing any of that. I'm discussing these guys had a rule set. It was an exhibition match. It was an exhibition weight class. It was an exhibition amount of rounds. The whole thing was done, which in grappling is what's done every single Saturday. And they went out and competed and they lost. Now, I don't want to back and forth here. I don't want to back and forth on what Logan and Floyd. That's not what I'm looking for. What I'm trying to do is to illustrate and prove a point for you. That the Paul brothers are doing something different. And they can't get their credit. Nobody will give it to them. They take it from them. People would prefer to not even discuss that Logan and Floyd went out there and boxed. That's what they prefer. That's what they're really trying to do, isn't to take away from Logan or give to Floyd or call it a draw. Man, that just never happened. Let's throw it out because we just got a kid who hasn't done this sport that just went the distance with who we've declared the greatest ever. That's what they would like to do. So in the spirit of taking and pulling down from the Paul, you just don't want to give it to him. Just don't. that jealousy, that envy, you don't want to give it to him. Doesn't make a difference what Jake does. Doesn't make any difference at all. If he goes out and beats Anderson Silva, you're already prepared to take it from him. The odds maker says Anderson's going to beat him. Chuck Liddell has even come out and said Anderson is going to beat him. Dana White has been on record saying that he's going to beat him. But as we get closer, as sure and obvious as that looks, as it gets closer, we're going to start to change that. We're going to start talking about, well, we're going to start coming up with our excuses. We're going to do what Andre Galvao did over the weekend. We're going to do it ahead of time. His shoulder hurts. He probably shouldn't even be out there, but by golly, he's going to walk out and give you guys what you came for. So what difference does it make? You're not going to compliment Jake if he beats Anderson. So if he loses to Anderson and now you have this great discussion, it seems like the guy that gets the most discussion is the guy that goes into a main event. So even on a loss, does he draw into Nate Diaz? It's an interesting thought. I want to know your opinion.